Okay, checkmate.
Are they going to be able to get somebody up here?
Of course, man. We're coming up for you.
Well, there's no one here yet, and the floor is completely engulfed. We're on the floor, and we can't breathe.
Okay.
And it's very, very, very hot.
And you've got to make it stop, and you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all. There's a time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers.
Freedoms, access, information, truth, theory, conjecture, debate, discussion. These words that inspire you. Well, then welcome to Revolution Radio, where we search and help you search for the truth. We shall not be deterred. We shall stand tall. We stand together to fight against the attempted destruction of mankind from forces we cannot see. We must prevail. We are commercial free. We are 100% listener and user supported. We are here for you, so stay tuned and prepare to be awoken.
Yeah, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Tim Adulger with Phenomenal ETs. What's up, Tim?
Hey, how's it going, Hawk?
Hey, sorry we ran over you. I just got involved there. It's been so long since I've actually felt well enough to talk on the air. I felt like talking on the air for a minute.
That's all right. That's all right.
Anyway, let's go ahead and get your guest introduced and get rolling. I'm going to give Tim a little extra night since I ran over his show, so you're going to run until 12:30, Tim, and I hope Shevs and Joey Diamond hear that because this was my fault. So you got till 12:30 to go, and take it away, man.
Thank you. I just want to let our listeners know freedomslips.com is the website. Revolution Radio is what you're listening to. If you'd like to join us for this intriguing interview we're about to have here, that website is freedomslips.com. And remember, we are 100% listener supported. So join us in that chat room. And if you can, please click that donate button. Greatly appreciate whatever you can help us with. You are the ones that keep us on air, keep us going. We've been here for almost 6 months. We owe it to you guys. Thanks a lot. And yes, welcome to another edition of Phenomenal ETs. I'm your host, Tim the Dolger, a.k.a. Skyper McGee. My guest tonight is Mr. Michael Horn. Michael, after reading your bio, I tried to come up with a word to best describe you, but I couldn't. I came up short. All of our listeners here at Revolution Radio know Kevin, a.k.a. Master of Many Things. Michael, I think that phrase best describes yourself. Folks, Michael Horn is the authorized American media representative for the Billy Meier Contacts. He is the writer and producer of an award-winning feature-length documentary, The Silent Revolution of Truth, also writer, producer, and narrator of the Meier Contacts, The Key to Our Future Survival. Besides being an award-winning film director, Michael is also a painter, designer, creator of fingernail art, songwriter, one of the first creators of digital online book publishing. He is a science researcher, healthcare professional, a pioneer in commercial water purification applications, a national and international lecturer, and the list goes on. More on the bio at www.theyfly.com. Michael, I don't know how you find the time to do so much, but thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to speak with us here at Revolution Radio. How's it going this evening?
Pretty good, Tim. I thank you for having me on. I'm glad to do it.
All right, great. So basically, it's where you want to take the show. If you would like to introduce yourself and let our listeners know exactly what I just spoke about in the intro, if you can go into detail a little bit and let our listeners know.
Well, just because, as you said, that bio is online if anybody cares. And, it's just, I put it there because I've had lots and lots of interactions with people. Read that as skeptics and people that attack the Meier case over the years that I've been representing it, and representing it officially, if you will, and even before, just on my own. And so I decided that I would put my own credentials up so that when people come at me trying to, impress me with their, 14 minutes of study of the Meier case and all that, that I could say, well, I do and have done many things in my life, and I choose to give most of my energy, most of it, to things pertaining to the Meier case because I consider it even more important than all the other things that I do. It's just that simple. So because our time is limited and because you've invited me to say a few things, let me say this for your listeners and kind of make it clear, because even though I don't mean it in any other way than an informing way, it can and probably will to some people come off as, stuffy or arrogant. So let me just give you my position based on my almost 33 years of researching the Meier case. There is no, and pardon me, I'm also a little hoarse tonight from...
That's all right. That's all right.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'll say this. There is, in our opinion, and we are open to any facts that want to, be presented to contradict, there is nobody else on the planet who's meeting with extraterrestrials. There's nobody who's being abducted by extraterrestrials, and no woman is carrying hybrid babies. The scenarios that we are most familiar with UFOs, primarily fall into the category of secret military or natural phenomenon with now only the smallest possible number of possible extraterrestrial sightings. The UFO element and the extraterrestrial element per se are the least important thing that anybody in their right mind right now on Earth should be focusing on. The UFO ET context right now is being exploited maximally now through mainstream media, although they won't touch the Meier case because it's real. And there is a chance that there would be a fake ET attack and things like that, especially something that could happen around the United States, among other places, to try to create a kind of, martial law situation. That being said, and it also being said that Meier's evidence, his photographs and films and all this, are the most abundant and the most amazing and voluminous of all time. That all being said, the proof, if you want to look at it that way, for the extraterrestrial nature here and the validity of the contacts and the reason behind them lies in the information. And that information, at this point, is well over 26,000 pages. Probably something like 90% is still in German. So I'll stop there for questions and comments. Challenges.
Challenges, great. Well, I would like to understand a little bit more about Billy Meier. I got about 24 hours of straight videos I was watching and reading some notes here. I'm not a prevalent reader here, but basically I'm trying to understand why Billy Meier. What does he have? Like why does he have the...
Okay, well, this goes to an element in the case which has to do with the human spirit. Now, this is not the soul, but the spirit. And again, this is information from the case. I'm not asking anybody to believe it. I'm going to offer you the answer that's contained in this material. And it's up to people to think it through themselves. And quite frankly, this particular question and the context that I'm going to answer it in are very hard to answer because we don't yet have this knowledge one way or the other. So here it is. According to the information in the case, the human spirit is the immortal part of each and every human being. It reincarnates countless millions of times throughout the course of evolution, which itself is billions and literally trillions of years of process of growth and development of the consciousness and of the human spirit, at a certain point no longer needing a physical body, but that is so far in the future that it's not even worth talking about. The human spirit, this reincarnating part, has therefore had many lifetimes, many incarnations, if you will, and many personalities. In the case of Billy Meier, what we are taught in this information is it simply happens that this is an enormously ancient spirit form that has incarnated, and we're just going to stick to pertaining to our world, going back a very, very long time. And previous incarnations of the Spirit had personalities whose names we would recognize as major prophets from the past. There was never a religious intention, religious component to the lives of the prophets, but these things were turned into religious elements by people who sought to control other people through religion. So Meier is the seventh prophet in this lineage and the final prophet for Earth, for the simple reason that now, in this electronic age, the information and the spiritual teaching that has always been delivered and lost to us in its pure form, thanks to the religions, but always been intended for us, will no longer be falsified or corrupted or damaged, but preserved in pure form electronically and in all media yet to come, in a way where falsification just doesn't have the chance of taking root.
Okay. We got questions coming in, like I said before our show started.
Anything anybody wants.
Great. Okay, so here, this was coming in from my emails here. I posted it, and everybody got back to me. Billy says in the late 70s, contacts have stopped. His son, when questioned, has dates as late as 1982, where contacts were still happening. According to you and the organization FIGU, the contacts are still going on. Which one is the truth?
Well, Meier had a period of time in the 80s where he was unable to transcribe contacts, and the contacts for a short period of time were suspended after he had had a very bad injury. But the contacts resumed, and his ability to transcribe them was something that he fixed within himself quite amazingly. Since he'd had a brain injury, he was able to regain the use of all his faculties, his memories. He actually shifted. Well, I won't go into what he did inside his brain, but the point is, one of the ways we can know that, which is, then not debatable, is through the very means by which we know whether or not the case is true, and that is by going into these contact reports, and especially those that were published after 1986 and 87, and to see what information, and by information I will focus a lot here on the scientific information, that Meier was given and was published by him in those years after 86, and then look at the voluminous corroboration scientifically. We have a whole page on my website, corroborated information. It's linked from my home page, where we have categories of. There's an article called Will Humanity Wake Up in Time? And that's just got well over, I think, 125 specific scientific discoveries, events, etc., that Meier verifiably published before the discoveries or events occurred. And we are adding to that all the time because they keep on happening. So I very often now just put out press releases, and we have a whole file of over 30 press releases. I have a blog with well over 70 pages that I've done in the past, 6 months or something. And I incorporate the new corroborated information there. I have been in battles with skeptics, for instance, and just today I think further slammed the door shut on some very obnoxious challenges from a pseudoscientist who's an astronomer, who's just been attacking the case. And I just put up information today showing 2 copyrighted books and a letter from 58, 2 copyrighted books from the 70s, where Meier clearly predicted 2 planets beyond Pluto and that they would be discovered around the turn of the century, which occurred. Those have copyright, publishing dates, and Library of Congress, and all the rest of it. You can't wiggle out of that. And some of the information that Meier got in the 90s is being corroborated, in some information even just from a few years ago. So if somebody does this searching of my site, I've put up as much, I'll always put up more.
Yeah.
You do it yourself, and you'll find out whether it's true or not.
Okay. I believe that, and that's theyfly.com. And I just want to let our listeners know freedomslips.com is the website. Come and join us, chatters. We are here with Michael Horn, investigating a little bit about the Billy Meier case. So please join us, freedomslips.com and that website. Second question. Billy says he is the only one contacted by the Pleiadians. Yet in Billy's contact notes, he says there are over 7,000 people being contacted. Why the contradiction?
Right. It's the definition that they use for the two different types of contacts. And Billy is the only true contactee. That means voluntary, wide awake, face-to-face, in person, and telepathic. The other contactees are what are called impulse-based. That is, they are primarily people like doctors and scientists involved in non-military applications of scientific medical information, and even creative writers and filmmakers and people who receive impulses unconsciously. They don't know, but they will get an idea or an urging to pursue thinking or development in a certain line, a certain course of development. There'll be an inspiration or an intuition. It's up to them, though, to follow through if they're going to, and develop the thought, develop the idea, create that which they are impulsed, initiated into conceiving of. This means that they are not guided as in ongoing contact onto how to develop something, but just enough of a seeding. And obviously, numbers of people, because not everybody that gets an impulse or gets an idea or thought carries it through. We know from our own experience that many people will get an idea even simultaneously around the world, but only a few here and there, and sometimes right down to one or two, will carry through to develop it. And on some occasions, there are even lawsuits where people claim that somebody else must have ripped them off, when in fact they both had the same idea. So it really isn't it isn't the same thing. There are people who've accidentally seen either the Pleiadian or other extraterrestrials. And there are a handful of people over decades of time who came into contact with an extraterrestrial here or there, basically quite accidentally, and it was never repeated. These we are speaking about are human beings. They're also fallible, and they can make mistakes. There are no perfect beings. There's no ascended masters and all the rest of this. So maybe I've opened the door to more comments on that, but I hope that addresses the difference between the two types.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Great, another question here at freedomslips.com. How can Billy claim the Pleiadians circled the Earth and found him to be the most advanced human, considering his past as being jailed for theft, then joining the Foreign Legion to get out of jail, then deserting, becoming a bounty hunter, and a hitman, followed by claiming to be a guru?
Well, most of what you just, repeated to me simply isn't true. What is true is, yes, Meier did get incarcerated. What happened was, and we tell this in the film, but you don't even have to buy a film, I can tell it to you. When he was young, his experiences with the Pleiadians started at age 5. By the time he was 7, he had the thinking capacity of a 35-year-old man, and all of the trouble that would bring to a 7-year-old boy who was going to school in a small, conservative little Swiss village and doing things. So he became somewhat quiet and to himself, and he also got picked on, and different things happened that he got blamed for. We know people like that, even if they're not UFO contactees. There are sensitive, bright people that, get blamed for things, get beat up, etc. He did not protest against things even when he was falsely accused. He was never a bounty hunter. And he never was a hitman. You see, this is what happens when people do their 2 minutes online and they decide that they're going to bring somebody down. What happened was that Meier, who's had over 360 different, let's use the term jobs or occupations, in the course of his travels through 42 different countries, hitchhiking, on foot, working his way around and supporting himself, did everything from being a snake charmer to a private detective to working as a psychologist to being someone who brought in serial killers and mass murderers for 3 different police departments and never killed anybody in the process. What he did do is he defended himself. If someone tried to harm him, he would wound somebody, but for the most part, he didn't have to use his weapon. He was also a member of a group of Jordanian desert fighters. When he joined the French Foreign Legion as a teenager, it was because he needed to develop certain skills that would enable him to protect himself and others. To be able to do things like operate as the Phantom, that's what he was known as in the 50s when he was, apprehending criminals. And so he also went back to Switzerland voluntarily after he was out of the French Foreign Legion. He walked out across the desert when he'd had the training he needed, and he realized he did not want to be a killer, and he was not going to be in a legion of men who, kind of enjoyed that kind of thing without any qualms about it. So he came back, and he had some punishment, and he spent some time. If you want to use that as a criteria, I guess we could say that Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King.
So he never became a bounty hunter or a hitman?
He was hired. He was known as the Phantom in West Pakistan, India, and Turkey. The police departments would send him out to bring in people who were serial killers and mass murderers, because Meier, in addition to having mastered the use of a sidearm in the French Foreign Legion and becoming a crack shot, and there's some artifacts in Switzerland that are pretty amazing, bullet holes through postage stamps and what have you. In addition to all that, he has nerves of steel, and he could face people down. He beat the crap out of two men that he found raping a woman, and then brought them in, but he wasn't a bounty hunter. So people have to understand that if they want to know, if they want to find the truth, it's better not to parrot things that are put up by people who are basically defamers. And you can work your way through all of the information, come to your own conclusion.
But I think what the question was directed at was more so, why would they come only to Billy?
Again, you see, people, look, the people who are the real prophets in life, as well as the real groundbreakers, very often live very difficult lives. And they are people who have enormous opposition. Some people get crucified or attacked, brutalized, you name it. Imprisoned, Galileo. You don't even have to be a prophet. Galileo, look what they did to him, and many, many others. So Meier developed and had from an early age not only enormous intelligence and abilities, but he developed the strength of character to work his way through the most difficult situations. He had been kidnapped by pirates. I mean, you name it. The guy's been through it. There have been 22 attempts on his life. I've spoken to witnesses to a dozen of those attempts at least, maybe 14. So the kind of a man, this is the mark of a man, not an armchair idiot at a computer who lives a virtual life thinking they know something because they hit send, and they can do a search on Google. And I encounter so many of those types of people. I'm not saying the questioner is that, but I encounter them by the busload, because in this day and age, so few people lead real lives. I've led a real life. Meier's led a super real life. And unless you've walked in some really bare moccasins and barefoot through some broken glass and all the rest of it, it's best not to try to judge the character of a man in any direction unless you can go in and really dig, start to understand. So the fact that they chose this person as a young boy and guided him and helped to train him so he could endure these things, so that when they told him 10 years before it happened, hey, buddy, you're going to lose your left arm. Better get used to using one hand, because that's what your life's going to be from here on. Meier didn't cry. He didn't complain. He never bitches and moans about the people that attack him, attack his character, try to kidnap his children, write the most vicious lies and slander and libel about him. He doesn't even come forward publicly to present anything. He publishes his information. He lives his life. And we have the people with their pretend names online by the droves, pretending to be something they're not, with their avatars and their icons, who don't know real life. And don't be offended if that offends you. Whoever you may be out there in the world, if you hear this and you're offended, then there's something wrong in your life. I use my real name online. My name is Michael Horn. I have a biography full of stuff, not because I was given a silver spoon and not because I was trained to do anything useful in life, but because I used whatever talents I had, and I dared to forge ahead time after time with one failure after another, watching my inventions being stolen and all the rest, and going, okay, fine, let's do the next thing. Meier's story is 1 million times that. And it would behoove people, if they want to know what life is about, even to explore his a little bit.
Well, that's a very interesting tale right there, and I need to let our listeners know freedomslips.com is the website. Come and join us here in our chat room. You're listening to Revolution Radio, the Phenomenal ETs with Tim Dalger and Michael Horn as my guest. We are 100% listener supported. Please join us in the chat room, and if you can, please click that donate button and help out any way possible. $5, $10, $15, every little bit counts. We don't ask for a lot. We just hope that everybody combined, we have over 12,000 listeners at the moment. Everyone combined pitch in a little bit. Greatly appreciate that. Keeps us going for another month. Michael Horn, we got another question here from another host here at our show here. So I hold him pretty high. I wrote that question down and I can't find it. Look at me now. Look at me go here. Basically, ask him if the ETs told Billy anything prevalent, worth the global knowledge, worth value. And I was checking your website earlier, and you have a list. But if you can go into that question and explain.
Sure. Well, the best way to try to address that would be to start with this. In 1951, Meier put out his first public letter. And we have a prophecies and prediction section on my website. You can find all of this and more. You can be reading for days if you want to. He's the first person to discuss and to proclaim climate change was coming to us, and that it would be largely the fault of human beings. In 1951, he also mentioned computers, that they would be in every home along with television sets. In 1958, he published a letter with over 160 specific predictions, including 2 U.S. wars with Iraq. The second one under a president would be the son of a former president. It would lead to a terrible disaster. He named AIDS by name as a coming worldwide epidemic and said that people will transact with plastic credit cards and carry their phones on them. Not only will every home have a computer and television, but that media will be interconnected electronically around the world. 1958. He foretold all of the various moon launches, rocket launches by the U.S., including that the first one would be a terrible hoax that would be perpetrated upon the people of the world. I have a new press release out about it because just a few years back, Meier was told when he asked one of the extraterrestrials, well, how is it, that since this was hoaxed, and he himself had announced that in 58 before it happened, how is it then that, this is going to be concealed from the public in the future? And he was told that there would be subsequent missions that would be, some would be public and some would be not public at all, whereby some of the artifacts would then be put on the moon at later dates, and then they would be announcing that the cameras had just discovered. Basically, he foretold what happened within maybe the past week or 10 days, and I put out a press release about it. Almost the same words. I mean, it's so uncanny. It's painful. He foretold the increase in frequency and intensity of earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis. He foretold long ago that the coming dangers from nuclear power plants were going to put the world at risk. And as far back as the 70s, he said that the mining of ores and digging into the earth precipitated earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. These things have been corroborated since he published them. He also was told shortly after the BP spill that this was far worse by over 100 million gallons. It will produce consequences for decades to come. He was told shortly after Fukushima that there had already been meltdowns and that we are going to have the most unimaginably horrible consequences from the radiation and fallout, genetic mutations, all sorts of things that will go on for a very long time. The contamination of the food chain from all of this stuff in the seas. He's been publishing this stuff for 60 years, and every effort to suppress him has been made by every mainstream media, every intelligence agency, of every major country in the world and every major religion, some of which know exactly who he is, and the fact that he doesn't fit the foretold version of some nice guy in a white robe floating down with a long beard, they still get it. And they would like to see him one more time nailed up or shot or anything else. That is what is at the heart of the Meier case. When you start getting into this and you realize, if you see it that way after you've read a few thousand pages, you might get just what is really going on here and why this is not covered in every major media day in and day out. That's part of my answer.
Great. Another question here.
Sure.
How come Ascot looks exactly like the backup singer for Dean Martin?
Yes. Well, the fact is that she doesn't. And we have, of course, on my website, a complete expose on that. And the photographs side by side, you're going to find out that when you look at the two photographs, go ahead and look. If you think those are the same two people, well, have a nice day. I don't want you at the lineup where someone's going to, need to convict somebody of a crime. Here's what
Eyewitness is the worst form of evidence.
It can be, and, interesting enough, when people say, well, Meier's got these eyewitnesses, but they're unreliable. Here's where, and I'll come back to the Ascot thing, but let me explain about eyewitnesses. Meier has, at this point, probably 80-some eyewitnesses, many of whom witnessed multiple events, many with other people, many who had never seen anything like this before, and over 30 years some of them have witnessed multiple events. So when you get groups of people over decades attesting to the same thing, and some of those people photographing the ships themselves, including a Swiss skeptic, then eyewitness testimony takes on a new flavor, as do the lie detector tests administered to 17 of the people who all passed 100% honestly. Now, Ascot story. This is another case of where, and I'm not going to pick on anybody because I understand how what you see, when you search for Billy Meier on the internet and here this stuff is floated to the top, because that's the name of the game. If the mainstream media ever let it come through who the guy is, the game is over for the religions and politics, and people would stop wasting their time in these dead-end games. The Ascot story is as follows. Meier had indeed taken photographs of Ascot and Nero. And then in 1975, he was having a conversation. I think that was the year, 75 or 77, right back there. And he was informed at that time, and I happen to have the copyrighted, dated, published book, and the e-book is online. He is told that there are two women in America who are virtual doubles for Ascot and Nero. And he says, well, that's great. Let's go. I'd like to see them or some photograph. And they said, no, there's reasons we can't do that. He said, well, okay, too bad. What were those reasons? Well, they knew, because they've known a few things about what was coming to Meier, some of which they told him and much of which they didn't. They knew that this falsification by intelligence agencies, getting a hold of Meier photographs and altering them to, if you can't kill a man, you try to assassinate his character. So they doctored these photos, and they used the photos from these two women who were on the Dean Martin show. Now, since we have documented, copyrighted, dated, published information where Meier is told about these two women, and the photographs don't come out for 12 years later, those of us who want to think our way through should read that article and the rest of the information in it, including how the photographs taken of Ascot and Nero that were doctored to look like the Dean Martin people could not have been taken off of the television that Meier was known to possess. So this stuff goes on and on into excruciating detail because it really actually was investigated by two separate investigative bodies. And if this one-armed guy could fool all these people, good golly, why? He's never tried to capitalize on it. He's not a millionaire. He lives up in a renovated farmhouse up in the highlands of Switzerland. And I've been there 13 times. So that's my answer. Go look at my site, search for Asket and Nira, and you will find your answers.
Okay, great. Another question here. Claiming to be the only true prophet of God or spirit form and the only true contactee, which is the claim of all the other religions in the past, why repeat the past and give our power to another man or belief system? Is there a profit?
Good question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, is there a profit motive in having an exclusive?
No, of course not, because, first of all, nobody's asked to believe anything. Remember, I'm being careful to tell you there's information here, and you have to think it through. Now, let's look at that whole question about the only prophet. First of all, there's nothing religious here, and the position of the Meier material, there is no God. There's no deity sitting up there, messing with people's lives or answering prayers, because nothing's wrong with creation. The universe, this creation, didn't get your life wrong, anybody. There's no need to pray to somebody to straighten it out for you. If it's messed up, let's straighten it out. Yeah, we'll take this a little longer, by the way, I want to tell you.
Okay.
If we can, I'll do 10 or 15 minutes to try and make us close to an hour before I crash here. But look, here's the thing about it. If I say to you, there's one grandmaster chess player, he's beaten all the other chess players. Okay, well, we can live with that. People get ruffled when we say there's one prophet because that whole term is wrapped up in religiosity where there's no religion or beliefs in the Meier case. A prophet is simply someone who so well knows and understands the laws of cause and effect that he or she can accurately use them to take known information and project outcomes. And we have those people in our world. We call them weathermen. We call them engineers. We call them astrophysicists and mathematicians. Okay. We call them astronomers, etc. To varying degrees and abilities, they are able to take information and project outcomes. It simply happens that when you take Meier's predictions, they are unerringly accurate. Now, some of them come from the Pleiadian ETs, we are told, and some of those are gained through time travel, we're told, and a lot of them are done by Meier himself using his own abilities, since his spirit has done this 6 other times in the past. That isn't a celebrity game. It doesn't make him better than anybody. It doesn't make you or I less. This is where we have to get our egos out of the way. If the man does what he does, and he does it exceedingly well, then why don't we see if we can benefit from it instead of griping about it or throwing things? There isn't another human being on the planet that has done what Meier's done.
But why give him that power?
It's not giving. He demonstrates. In other words, there's nothing to worship here. If somebody is a master carpenter, or somebody's a physicist, and you can learn from them, you're not giving them power. You're empowering them yourself by taking what is offered.
Well, he's been claimed to be the prophet of God.
No, there is no God.
Or spirit form.
He is the prophet. Here's the claim. Billy Meier is the prophet for the new time, or the prophet for Earth people for this time. Okay, what does it mean? It means he's the person who, having gone through personal hell for almost 70 years, has been carrying forth unfailingly, doing the particular work that he took on, that he accepted as his mission in life, and that has to do with bringing forward information that contains 0 beliefs, 0 gods, no angels, no saints, no masters, no gurus. He's nobody's guru. He belongs to a free group of people who work with him, in which he has 1 vote. Okay. All the other people have 1 vote. Okay. He's simply the guy that meets with these people and does the gig.
True.
Why is that hard for people? I don't get that.
Well, not for me. I'm taking it all in. Listen, yeah. I want to definitely let all our listeners know here. freedomslips.com is the website. You're listening to Revolution Radio. Phenomenal ETs here with Michael Horn. And to be honest with you, I can't take credit in getting you here at our show. That belongs to Orange Ken here in our chat room. Because he had introduced me to yourself. He said, you need to investigate. You need to get him on the show. I think he'd be a very good guest. So Thank you, Orange Ken, for that. Greatly appreciated. And he had a couple questions. I know I see one right here. If you can ask him about the Enoch prophecies, or Enoch prophecies and the predictions of the end of the world in 2004 asteroid related, is it possible we changed timelines regarding this foretelling?
Yes, the world was never going to end in 2004, nor is it predicted that the world is going to end at any particular time. This goes on for a long time. The fact that there may well be some rather nasty disruptions to life as we know it, everything from wars, natural disasters, the red meteor, also known as the Apophis asteroid, that will hit our planet if the scientists do not deflect it. Those things and others are foretold, many as prophecies. Prophecies, as in Enoch prophecies, means events that can be prevented if altered in time. And many things, human beings have been pushing back this Third World War thing for some time, because even people that don't know the darndest thing about Meier, who are dedicated to peace and doing everything they can to be reasonable and peaceful, have worked and contributed to not allowing that Third World War. Had, in 2010, in our country, America, had the Democrats not won their those midterm elections, we would have had the Third World War, because, as Meier was told in August of that year, well before the November elections, he was told in November of this year the Democrats are going to prevail in the United States, which is a good thing, because the Republicans had they prevailed, or should they prevail at that time, are wanting to set in motion effectively the Third World War, and that would entail an attack on Iraq and all sorts of stuff. Well, there are many things that are possible. Some of which have been forestalled, some of which have been minimized, and some of which still are quite possible and loom. Now, here's one. Since you mentioned the Enoch prophecies, if you go into that as Enoch prophecies on my site, which have been up on my website since 2002, in which we are told in this form were given to Meier in 87, also previously in 81, a smaller amount, you will find, if you do a search for the word Russia, that at a certain point you're going to come up into a sentence where they also mention a town called Arkhangelsk. A very unusual name, and I didn't know what the heck it was when I found it. And it says in the prophecies, and I'm not looking at it, so I won't give it to you verbatim, in the future, Russia is going to not only invade Iran, but Scandinavia as well. And the attack will be launched from a place called Arkhangelsk. Ladies and gentlemen, within the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is, Russia announced troop movements to Arkhangelsk. You probably hadn't heard about it before then either, unless you're a big geography buff. Now, the other part of that you'll find when you look and you search around Russia is that there will also be an attack against the United States coming through Alaska and involving Canada. Unless, of course, people decide that they don't want the Enoch prophecies to come to pass in all their very unpleasant manifestations. If in America we don't want all of our greatest cities destroyed, if we don't want fire hurricanes sweeping across the United States and the rest of it, maybe, just maybe, we will stop playing dead-end political games and stop being goofy about religious garbage and take responsibility for our lives and start to come together as conscious thinking human beings, questioning everything, not trying to tear down things and throw things and break and burn like all the idiot anarchists, but take responsibility for our lives further and thereby change the prophecies so they don't manifest.
Okay. Great. Another one here. Billy says he made up the name Pleiadians. We were speaking about this earlier, to trick people, saying they don't exist, and yet the Pleiadians are referenced in the Bible, Native American cultures, Hawaiian cultures, Philippines, as their ancient ancestors. Can you speak on that?
Yes. Billy didn't make up the term. Billy has known since his first contact when he was 5 years old that these people are called Pleiadians, which is why he was surprised when in 1975, when his contacts with Semyaze started, that she said, "You'll please refer to us as the Pleiadians." And he said, "Why? You're not Pleiadians, whatever that is." And they said to him, we know and you know, but what will happen in the future is that people will start, after you publish your information, there will be no shortage of people who will claim that they are meeting with us, that they are channeling us, that they are having babies with, and all the rest of it. Until we're ready to close out our mission on Earth, just use this term, because then you'll know. Automatically, when these people open their mouths, those people are lying. You won't have to ask us if that's a real contactee or not. Now, have people come from the direction of the seven sister stars, from the direction of the Pleiades, throughout our history? Of course. These people's forefathers. But that term Pleiadian is not in the Bible. And if it was used prior to 1975, I'd be very curious to see it, because I couldn't find it before Meier's stuff came out. Okay. So that would be our answer to that.
Okay. All right. Area 51. Can you talk about Area 51? Anything that you...
Sure. Area 51 is an area, according to the Meier information, they say it as well, where a lot of very secret development of craft takes place. For instance, there's a guy up in Washington State named James Gilliland who is under the delusion that he's an quote-unquote extraterrestrial contactee. He gave me a videotape of his in about 2005 to bring to Billy. He asked me to, so that Billy could tell him, James, what he thought of the UFOs. Well, Billy and one of the ETs actually watched it on a Thursday evening. On a Friday, I was invited to Billy's office. He gave me a kind of rundown on what was told, and he said, these craft that are seen apparently only at night, these lights in the sky, were developed at Area 51. This is secret military craft, and there's nothing whatsoever extraterrestrial going on at Jimmy's ranch up there, despite the fact that he thinks otherwise. Well, of course, there's no proof of any contact and extraterrestrials and all the rest of it. So Area 51 has been an area where also there has been some back engineering of craft that crashed. Roswell was a real event. I learned about it in about 1958. I was in high school, and a kid in the school, his dad was in the Air Force and told me about a crashed flying saucer. They took it to Ohio, blah, blah. And, of course, the Pleiadians said there have been 8 or 9 crashes, and there have been the recovery of some bodies. In any of these cases, these were only androids. They were not extraterrestrial human beings. And, of course, they lent themselves to perpetuating the evil alien myth that started back in 1915 or so. And so Area 51 is one of those places where certain kinds of developments go on, but it is not an exclusive location, because actually alternative craft have been in development in different places since 1920s.
Okay, you know what you had just mentioned? Sorry, I had to take a sip of water there. You had just mentioned James Gilliland Ranch. And yes, to be honest with you, I got to tell you a little bit about my story here that got me on this UFO extraterrestrial tip for about 4 years now. Excuse me. I had seen my first UFO experience here in Ontario. There were 3 ships, star-like ships, moving in a triangle formation across the sky. And then right from that point on, I was searching the internet trying to find something. And A&E had a paranormal state show that they went to the Gilliland Ranch to try to see what he sees there. And obviously A&E has to bring their debunkers. So obviously that's the way it works. But when they were there, they had filmed and they had caught some exactly what I had seen in the skies there. So I had contacted James Gilliland, and I got invited to come out there shortly thereafter. And immediately as I got there with the wife, I had spotted 2 UFOs basically chasing each other, and they pulled a whole 180 in the sky around the North Star. And that was the first 10 minutes I was there. And continuing on, I was about 6 days there. We had seen ships in and out of Mount Adams. It was almost like a gateway. There was a light on the mountain, which is rock cliff, and climbers couldn't be up there, and it was over, 13 miles away. They don't have spot beams or lights that can project like that, and the lights would just travel from one side of the mountain to the other. And I had seen ships come in from the sky, go right into the mountain. And these light ships, I've seen orbs there. And basically at the Assetti Ranch, they had triple PhD Boeing engineers, Air Force Base commanders, Lockheed Skunk Works, all who testified on Coast to Coast. not to mention the hundreds and if not thousands of photos and videos at Gilliland's ranch alone. Basically, how do you dismiss him completely?
Sure. Let me give you the answer.
Thank you.
Number one, this of course is simply my opinion. If there are any extraterrestrials that are available on call for light shows regularly so that you can go to a place and watch them fly around, well, that begs a question. Why? We have a world that's in frigging turmoil, breaking down on every level, and yet we can go to Mount Adams or whatever the heck it is and watch light shows from presumed extraterrestrials who have come from the depths of space using hyperspace propulsion to give us light shows. Now, when we see lights in the distance in the sky, can we be sure that all of them are physical objects and that some are maybe not projections, holographic, from another object? Or if they are actual objects performing these maneuvers, as I said, we on Earth have had since the 1920s, and the Germans even in the early 40s, alternative craft that could do rather remarkable things. We are now 60 years minimally, 80 years beyond that, and most of this stuff is high top secret stuff. People that work in strictly linear propulsion systems at Rockwell or anything else, who are only allowed that level of technology, will understandably be quite impressed with something that seems to defy all the laws of physics, and they will be even more pissed off if they ever realize how they've been kept in the dark while these other programs have been run, perhaps funded by drug money, who knows, under their noses. See, Meier's UFOs, while people have not only seen them and watched Meier literally interact with them up close, the UFOs are the small part. And as I said in the beginning of the show, it's pretty irrelevant. Because if there are extraterrestrials coming from the depths of space, there's got to be a reason, and it's not to give us light shows. It's not to have us chase these things in the sky and end up at the end of the day none the wiser.
And I remember at the beginning of that, you just said this was your opinion, and that's perfectly put there, because I do feel otherwise. And that being said, you could take a sip of water here, because I do want to do a station ID here.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Let our listeners know, freedomslips.com is the website. Revolution Radio is what you're listening to. Phenomenal ETs with Tim Dalger and Michael Horn. We are 100% listener supported. We've got a website here filled with great information to keep you busy for weeks on end. Freedomslips.com is that website. We have actually a section of our archives with past guests such as Michael Cremo, James Gilliland himself, Michael J. Murphy, a wide range of guests here at Revolution Radio. So those are in our archives. We also have a swag section. Swag for all you old cats is clothes and gear. We've got wallets, mugs, T-shirts with the Revolution Radio stamped on it. Basically helps promote the show and helps fund the show, basically. So we greatly appreciate if you check that swag section out. We also have a schedule, new and revamped, thanks to Master of Many Things. So check that out. Find out what's coming up this evening with the overnights after about 12:30. Also, we have a section of the library, a section with news, up-to-date current news. Clyde keeps us informed pretty much throughout the day. And a section of survival documents. Like I said, this website here, freedomslips.com, is filled with information to keep you busy day in, day out. Come and join us. Freedomslips.com is that, and 100% listener supported. Means we do not host commercials every 15 minutes. We do not push Enzyte. We are 100% listener supported. That means we work on your donations. So please feel free to click that donate button. Any little bit counts. Don't think that your $5 can't go far. It does go very far. And if you'd like to stay anonymous and not help by donating through PayPal, you can always donate through mail, and you can remain anonymous that way. My guest here, Michael Horn, has his website, theyfly.com, and I encourage you to join his website and check out more information, because we will only have him here for so much longer. But that's where you can find out more about Michael Horn. And I will give out the call-in numbers if that's all right with you, Michael, and maybe we can get one or two callers. In the U.S., grab your pens and papers, folks. In the U.S., 347-688-2902. In the UK, 020-3286-3697. In Australia, 0390105725. In New Zealand, 036692431. And as always, a free call on Skype, hidden search box, Freedom Screen. Add us as a friend and we'll accept your request. And you can call in and speak with Michael Horn or myself and have any questions for us. We'd greatly appreciate them. And so basically, back to the questions here, Michael.
Can I finish one thing on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
As I did say, leaving the UFOs aside in the very beginning of the interview. So what I would say to you is this. Take all of the so-called UFO evidence from the Meier case and from Gilliland and put it aside. And then look and see what you have substantially. I tried over a series of something like 30 email exchanges with James Gilliland to have him send me one sentence of actual verifiable substantial information of unique value, of any value. And I failed. All I ever got was attacked and cursed out, and Meier was called names for it. That's why I'm trying to tell people, forget the darn UFOs.
Is this the Veritas show you're speaking about? Is this the Veritas show you're speaking about?
No, I'm talking about emails with Gilliland directly back, going back several years. Okay. I could not get one single coherent sentence representing anything that could be vetted to be shown to come from a source other than James Gilliland at best.
Well, you know what? You just described a whole bunch, and that is your opinion. But to be honest with you, I want to tell you the facts. And thousands of people do go to his ranch every year, and he does host conferences with Richard Hoagland was there, Michael C. Ledwith. He has Mihail Ledwith. Sorry, a lot of people join his ranch for conferences, and they see these UFOs. So those are the facts. Whether you believe that they are military or not is obviously your opinion. But you do have facts. And those,
the fact is
your facts.
But no. What I have to make this point.
Okay.
You can go and find thousands and thousands of pages verifiably published by Meier since 1975. We have taken, of the 3 to 5% that's available in English, we have hundreds, literally, of scientifically corroborated facts that are uniquely published by Meier before the events when nobody else in the world has done it. This isn't a matter of opinion, this part. Now, I can say I don't believe that it's extraterrestrials at Gilliland's place, and he can say he believes they are. I don't care about beliefs. Put something on the table that you
well, he's got a load of evidence at study.org. You can see his evidence if you take the time.
I've gone through his stuff. Please understand, I've asked him to send me actual verifiable information, not that somebody thinks this object can't do. I don't care about UFOs. I was invited to Gilliland's ranch. I've had 6 UFO sightings, 3 with other people. I've watched objects hover, do different maneuvers. I don't care about that.
Okay, maybe enough of James, because maybe it seems like it's getting
heated. Let's go to other questions.
What about Randy Winter? What are your belief systems on him?
It's not a belief system. I worked with Randy Winters starting around 1987 approximately. I had just gotten the 1,800 pages of the first transcripts of the Meier material. I was Randy Winters' opening act. I would come and perform New Age comedy songs at his presentations. He and I produced one of the first videos on this outside of Lee Elders. We did the Pleiadian connection together. The problem was, the only reason I got into presenting this material is because, after I was done performing, I'd sit in the audience and I would watch Randy's presentation, And more and more and more, I saw him digressing from the facts and inserting stuff that I knew was not in those 1,800 pages because I had them. And I decided one day in a whim that I wanted to do my own presentations. And Randy was very nice. He gave me a set of early generation slides, and I went off and I started to do my own presentations as early as 1988. And then Switzerland, Meier, and the people there asked Randy to stop doing what he was doing because two things. One, he was altering and changing the material, and two, Randy was basically in it for the money, something I didn't want to accept at the time, even though he was giving me pretty good indications of it, but something that has recently resurfaced when Randy has just popped up on YouTube trying to sell a book full of disinformation to make a buck. So Randy was a phenomenal presenter. Let me tell you that. I thought he was great. And if he hadn't gone wrong with it, if he hadn't decided that it was all about money for him and putting in his own crazy stuff that had nothing to do with the Meier material, I'd probably still be inventing things and doing whole other things and not representing the Meier case.
Well, what is the FIGU organization?
It's a volunteer group of people, totally volunteer, totally nonprofit.
FIGU membership fee for passive group members, $30 one time.
If you choose to become a passive member, and again, nobody's putting a gun to anybody's head, all the stuff that's for free on my website, my blog, and everybody else's.
Well, what I'm saying, I'm not trying to point fingers. What I'm saying is that you are selling.
No, I'm not selling. Look, let me explain something to you.
Okay.
I work up to 10 hours a day for free doing what I do because I love it. My time right now is 12:20 in the evening. I've been up since about 8:30 on the computer with the exception of lunch. I have been working on this all day long because I love it and because this is a passion of mine. I have a website and a blog that I put up with hundreds of pages of free info. On my own dime, I have produced films and DVDs. Other people who've produced books and what have you, they want to sell them through my site. You betcha, please. Is there somebody who's holding a gun to anybody's head? But let's first go back to the passive member. If you want to be a passive member, and again, nobody's telling you should, because why? Just take the free stuff. If you want to, then here's the big fee.
Okay.
7% of 1 month's income is your tithe for the year.
Mandatory
7%.
contribution.
Yeah, that's it. Now, if you don't want to give it...
Until pension age. If you don't pay by April 25th, your membership is null void. Come on now, Michael. I love you. I'm not trying to point fingers. I'm just trying to state facts.
Fair enough. Look, Tim, there's nothing that offends me, and there's nothing that I won't answer. But people have got to understand that they worry about absolute crap. If anybody in your audience or mine has ever done the due diligence on anybody they've ever voted for, as much as there is due diligence available on Meier, I want to buy him dinner. And I'll tell you something else. Meier has verbatim transcripts dating back to 1975, thousands of pages of every conversation that he's had with these people, and additional transcripts from 1953. Does anybody in your world have transcripts of the most important days and conversations of their lives?
Speaking of, great that you brought that up right now, because I was looking at another question. It says, Ptah said all crop circles are hoax and man-made, and gave many predictions that didn't happen, like San Francisco being totally destroyed more than a decade ago, and other statements known to be false.
Let me jump in.
Okay, wait, let me finish the question.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's okay. How can we believe in his credibility or existence? Go ahead.
Right. First of all, please don't believe in a damn thing. Your life will be much better if you kicked all of your beliefs out the window. Now let's straighten out the information. Two things. I am free contractually as well as just morally to disagree with Meier and the Pleiadians, and I do on a couple things. I'm not convinced that the crop circles aren't ET, because to me they seem way beyond human technology. So I don't tell anybody those are terrestrial. I say the opinion expressed by Meier and the Pleiadians is that those are all terrestrially made, and they've been very consistent about certain things about that. That's fine. I don't know. And if people were also free to say, I don't know, then they wouldn't be locked into beliefs. I don't know, and I don't know that the chemtrails are or aren't real.
Oh, you don't?
No, well, wait a minute. I've believed for the longest time that those are real, but I'll come back to chemtrails. Let's go to San Francisco.
Yeah, why not? Go
in
ahead.
I'd like to go, but I'm a little far away. In 1978, Meier allegedly took 11 photographs of the earthquake at San Francisco that hadn't happened yet. He showed those photographs to the 3 lead investigators and several Swiss people. He took them out of a little envelope, the kind of yellow envelope that used to contain photographs and occasionally still does if you have them printed up. And they were photographs. They were not paintings. They were not photographs of paintings. They were the city of San Francisco. The investigators, sitting there a little bit dumbfounded, tried to figure out, well, when would this be happening? Because Meier wouldn't give the date. So they zeroed in on the cars on the street, the ones that could be seen. And they noticed something. And I have this on my website so people can look. And I have the book it's in so people can look. And I've got
What about the movie? Do you have the movie in?
Not yet.
Okay, we're waiting on that movie.
Yeah,
you know what, Michael? We do have 2 callers, and they've called in. They're probably costing some long-distance charges. So
let me say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's all on my website. How you'll know when the earthquake is coming is because of the cars. And Wendell Stevens explained that in 1978, and the cars are now beginning to appear that way. So be careful. Next, callers.
Okay, so we'll go ahead with 360, then 209. Go ahead, 360.
Yes, hi. Calling to have a question.
Can you speak up?
Yes, can you hear me better?
Yeah, just speak more into the microphone, thanks.
Okay.
Great.
How do you know, how much do you know about Romper, about which, by the way, he has all of his predictions documented in transcripts? And also, what about the thousands of UFOs that are seen outside of the Essetti Ranch that is also documented?
I missed the first part about whose predictions he's speaking about.
Ramtha, the enlightened one. Ramtha, he has the school, Ramtha School of Enlightenment here in Washington State.
Right. Okay, well, a couple things. Based on the information in the Meier case, just so everybody understands, once a person is dead, they be dead. Nobody hangs out in their personality for 35,000 years. If there ever was a Ramtha, that Ramtha person has been all sorts of people, probably both sexes and all sexes and probably a few skin colors in the past 35,000 years. So that part of it we don't accept as being true. I will not comment on any prophecies or predictions contained in the Ramtha material for 2 reasons. Number 1, I haven't read them. And number 2, I would be curious if I ever get around to reading that stuff as to when it was published and how close it may or may not be to the Meier material. To the second part of your question about UFO sightings, UFOs have been sighted throughout human history. In the past, before our, industrial age, and prior to, let's say 1915, UFOs that were sighted either were natural phenomenon or extraterrestrial. Since then, the extraterrestrial sightings have actually diminished, and there are still a scant few that happen from the 3 races that are currently observing the Earth. However, we have information on our website that you can look at and think through to see if you think that maybe Meier's perspective about UFOs might bear, consideration. There's not much more I can actually address there because, I'd like to, but there's nothing else I can say.
No, we can keep moving with the callers. Anything else, 360?
Sure.
Yeah, well, you can always check out, there's a lot of documentation that was done by science and on JV Night, and to really see if this channeling was real or fake and that kind of thing. So I'm quite sure if you were to investigate that, you will find some truth in that information as well. And thank you for your opinions and all the information that you're giving this evening.
Pleasure. Thank you for your call.
Thank you, caller. Yeah, area code 209.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I was wondering what Mr. Horn thought about the Dr. Stephen Greer. He's going out and doing actual contacts with extraterrestrials. I mean, I'm sure he's probably seen his presentation.
Okay, shall I jump into that?
That's yours.
Two things, and again, these are my opinions. Number one, about 6 or 7 years ago, I offered Dr. Greer the Meier case. I said, look, you keep parading all these poor people from the Air Force and everything else in front of the microphones, and they're probably telling the truth about what they've seen, but they're going to be ridiculed, dismissed, threatened, and the rest of it, and you'll be nowhere at the end of the day. And, of course, they are nowhere at the end of the day. I said, why don't you just take the Meier case, all the verifiable proof, extraterrestrial component. He wouldn't even acknowledge the offer. Now, Stephen Greer is not seeing extraterrestrials on his little excursions for $500 or $700 out to the desert at night with flashlights. Whatever he may be seeing may also be secret military, if indeed it is any actual phenomenon, rather than also any of the projections of consciousness of people who are very desirous, especially after popping out for a few $100 to go and see ETs. This is where people have got to stop this thinking about aliens equal mystery in the night and lights in the skies and these fancy beings appearing maybe behind boulders and maybe in a distant thing. Look, this is why it's so clear in the Meier case, these are human beings. They have their own lives. They're not here to entertain us. They're not here to tease us. They're certainly not here to waste their damn time while we're in the business of destroying ourselves. They are not here to support Stephen Greer's $500 or $700 ambassador trainings and flashlight excursions into the desert. That isn't what's happening. That isn't why intelligent beings would come 500 light years to Earth and guard their presence and only flood the volumes of information and evidence to one man that he might slowly disseminate it to a world that is all too fascinated with gimmickry and illusion and nonsense and insubstantial things. So someday I'll tell you what I really think, but in the meantime, that'll have to do.
Great. Thanks a lot for that. Anything else, area code 209?
I want to say I'm definitely a believer in the Meier case, too, but also I am in Stephen Greer. And I've been out with him, and I've seen, we were at Mount Shasta recently with him, my wife and I, and we saw stuff that I sure as heck couldn't explain. And the camera caught it, too. We saw it on, we had cameras going that picked up things that I couldn't see with the eye, in fact. It would catch things that were in and out like a hundredth of a second.
Right. That's part of the problem. And I'm only interrupting you so you'll understand this perspective. Our military, our secret military, has weaponry. As Meier said many years ago, the CIA has weaponry that our army would be envious of. They have techniques and technologies. They have holographic types of things. There are cloning experiments that have gone on for 30-plus years in the U.S. You can't explain what you're seeing in many cases, but you have to understand there is no motivation for extraterrestrial people who live their own lives to titillate you in the desert at night with a bunch of, pardon me, BS. If they have something to tell you, it might be stop drilling in your earth. You're going to precipitate earthquakes and volcanic eruptions at a higher rate of frequency and intensity, as they were telling Meier in the 70s, as is now upon us. Every place on the planet that has the sinkhole phenomenon has drilling or mining associated with it within 20, 30 miles. Look it up. This isn't lights in the sky stuff, people. Kick that crap out of your life and realize what's going on your planet. It doesn't have to do with light shows. This is why it's so hard to get this across to people. I understand the fascination with phenomenon, and it is 100% irrelevant to your future survival.
So it's all military, everything, every last bit of it, either military or metal objects.
Look, it's like this. The things that are dazzling you and the things that are captivating us, as Meier said in 1958, we will be lost in phantasmagoria, in the illusions and those things that fool the eye and dazzle the eye. And even when parts of continents go underwater, people will still be trapped in illusion and want to go back to the same things. Real life is not about those. Ladies and gentlemen, throw your UFO crap down the toilet, even if it's Meier's photos. If that's what you're going to focus on, you're missing it.
No need to attack. No need to yell. It's okay.
No,
we understand you.
Listen, with all due respect, we started a little late tonight, and I'm hanging in way past the time.
Yeah,
and
I
got to tell you something. And I'm not trying to abuse anybody. I'm trying to tell you, this is when I say the Meier contacts are about the key to our future survival, they're not about the next form of holographic entertainment. Look, 3 years ago, friends of mine, or 2 years ago, were in Switzerland at night. 2 physicists and 2 other people. There was one of the patrol ships that come along every night above Meier's property was out there. Meier came out and he said, "Do you want to see me turn the light off?" They said, "Oh, you can do that." He looked up. The light blinked out on the ship. He went inside. 10 minutes later, he came out and he said, "I'm sorry, I was not supposed to do that. I was just told to turn it back on." He looked up and the light went back on and Billy went in. Great. We've got phenomena, we've got UFOs, and I can tell you stories till the cows come home. Unimportant. If your life depends on knowing whether or not the Russians are moving their troops into Arkhangelsk in preparation for attacks that will also come into your country, will you please forget about the darn UFOs? That's what I want to tell people.
Okay. I greatly appreciate your opinion.
It's an opinion.
It's an opinion. No, I don't want to discredit it. It's an opinion.
No, it's okay. I'm just saying.
And I value it. I value it, and I greatly appreciate you joining us. I know you said you'd stay for the hour, and you stayed past, so I greatly appreciate you taking some time out of your busy life, like I said, and I greatly appreciate you taking all the questions that came to me. Thanks, all you guys who had posted them.
Are there any more?
No, I don't have any right here. Actually, one more would be, can you talk about 2012 and Nibiru?
Right. Nibiru was never an inhabited planet. Meier discussed this back in the 70s, that there are a couple of not inhabited, but there were a couple of planetary bodies beyond Pluto that would be discovered after the new millennium, and of course they were the 2 planetoids beyond Pluto. There is this uninhabited planetary type or comet-like body that was alternately called Nibiru or Uni by the Pleiadians that comes around every 35 or 3600 years. It is not inhabited. There's no ETs on it. The Sumerians were not being visited by anybody from it. That, unfortunately, got a little bollocksed up by Zecharia Sitchin. Yes, the Sumerians were a race that basically sprung up between 300,000 and 30,000 years ago with extraterrestrial progenitors, but they weren't here mining gold to throw in the atmosphere and all the rest of that nonsense. Now, in 2012, we've got a planetary alignment, which in and of itself is simply a kind of a visual of the Earth nestled in the horizontal plane of the Milky Way. That's what the Mayan calendar really was talking about. The Mayans wiped themselves out or got wiped out through floods and famine. Never got a chance to do the next calendar, which would have gone on for another couple thousand years at least. And so the rest of what comes in 2012 is due to solar flare cycles that our scientists are now beginning to admit could be a huge problem. There may be some phenomenon that is connected with an extrasolar object in outer space, but mainly our problems are going to come from environmental disruptions and from the possibility of the grid going down, which isn't a certainty but a possibility. Very real types of dangers that face us from very real astronomical and Earth-oriented events. We have more information, even about how certain gravitational waves that originate on the Earth go out into space and cause some problems, and how the blowing up of A-bombs has destabilized. I mean, there's just, Meier has so much scientific information that keeps on steadily being verified, that if people will go to that, you can then go and see if you can find anything comparable on Gilliland's site or Romth or anything else. Fine, look, I don't care if there's 100 real contactees on the planet. The nature of the information, if it's valid and it has value for us, that's what we should focus on. Just like if Meier's really a genuine prophet, okay, we don't have to be mad about it. What's the value to us? If it can help us to assure our future survival, it doesn't take anything away from any of us.
Exactly, no. But out of 7 billion people to say that he's the only one, I mean, that's far-fetched in itself.
No, it isn't far-fetched because...
In my opinion, of course.
Well, let me tell you why it isn't, just for this reason. The challenges to people to be able to hold steady and relay information unaltered and unchanged in regular, daily, everyday life is demonstrably very poor. The old game of telephone, I'll tell you something, you'll tell the next person, by the time it comes around a circle of 20 people to me, it doesn't bear any resemblance to what was told. Here's the other problem. The more people you have, the more different stories you will have. And if you have one person that can do the job, you don't need other people. This is where we have to just get away from, is there any need for 2, 5, 7, 9, or 14 people if one person can do the job? I don't want 10 people driving a bus that one person can drive. It's illogical. Now, if Meier didn't do it, if he was publishing a bunch of nonsense and BS and obviously incredible information, I'd say, my gosh, where are the other 9 people that should be driving this bus? But he's impeccably accurate with his information. Okay. You can try to drive that bus through the information to find out where the gaping holes are. Yeah. I've tried to fool the guy 4 times in 3 years with a very obscure question on a very unusual subject for another interview. But he nailed the answer without hesitating, without so much as batting an eyelash. 4 times in 3 years. Try and do that with something that's a lie in your life. And you're hunting for, what did I tell that guy a year ago? I've only had 1,000 conversations with other people since then. This is not child's play. This is not the entertainment that most people online are looking for when they go UFOs and ETs and aliens. This just might be real. And if it's real, you owe it to yourself to find out what's in it and what it means in your own life. If you enjoy other things, if you want to pay attention to UFOs and tell stories and other stuff in 2012 or whatever, fine. But if this holds value for the people of Earth, if scientists like David Froning, who's an astrophysicist with probably 50 years top secret security clearance, was willing 20 years ago to get up on the stage with me and tell people in an audience of 450 corporate clients of a hotel, we take this seriously. This man is being advised by very knowledgeable people scientifically. Thank you very much. Then there's reason for us to look into it and not worry about whether there should be one prophet or not. Okay. At the highest levels, including the Vatican, they know that this is the reincarnation of the prophet who was known as Enoch, Elijah, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Emmanuel, and Muhammad. And Emmanuel was the real person upon whom the life of the falsified Jesus Christ was based. Now, when you put all that together and you say, well, you mean that's what they're claiming about this guy? Yeah, Yeah, now he's a little gray-bearded, pot-bellied, one-armed Swiss farmer. What are you going to do with that? Start another religion? I don't think so. So now, if anything, you don't have to believe a damn thing. Go find out if it's true. If it's true, what does it mean to you? That's it. So, there it is.
Thank you.
I thank you for your time.
No, I thank you for your time. And if you'd like, you can definitely join us again when you have another slot open, because I know you're a very busy man, and we wouldn't mind having you back.
Glad to do it, and tell your people to load up with questions and challenges. And I would ask, please, in addition to visiting my website, if you will go to my blog, the last at least half dozen entries in my blog, I have thoroughly shredded the skeptics, the skeptic astronomers, and the rest of these people who don't know what they're talking about out there, who are attacking the case, and think it through for yourself, and watch how nicely they box themselves in, and that's to the point where they can't say anything.
And that's at theyfly.com?
Yes, and my blog is simply theyflyblog.com. So
great. Well, I greatly appreciate that. That was Michael Horn, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so have a wonderful night. Okay.
Bye-bye.
And that was Michael Horn. We just paused for a second there. Sorry. That was Michael Horn here at freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio. Phenomenal ETs. We're going to go about another 45 minutes. Like I said, that was Michael Horn with the Billy Myers case archives. You can check that out at theyfly.com. And basically, when I approached this, it was probably one of my more difficult, thought-out interviews as of late, but I don't expect anything to get any easier in my search for answers. It only gets harder, and this was a great testament to that, having Michael Horn on, because I always like to be, unbiased, because I like to hear people's opinions about things, and I like to not, shove my thoughts down there, and I like to hear. And I like to learn more about everything. And so when I decided to go into this interview, I disbelieved him, and I disbelieved the stories that he has come with. And so what I did was I investigated a little bit more. I mean, I only found out about him 48 hours ago. I investigated a little bit more because what I believe truly, after seeing that, what I do see, caller, if you can, James.
This, it was probably one of my more.
If you can, yeah, great, thanks, James. Basically, I went through his footage and I decided for my own self, he cannot be the sole prophet, or he cannot be the sole contactee out of this many people, and myself being witnesses to them. You can't tell me everything has been military, but that then again is my opinion. And we do have James Gilliland on the line. James, how's it going?
Doing great. Can you hear me?
Yeah, if you just want to speak up a little louder.
Okay. Let me see if I can do something with mine. How's that? There we go.
Yeah, sound a little better, James. Yeah, so I know that you were tuned in here, freedomslips.com. Freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio. Join us in our chat room. We have James Gilliland here for the other half of the story. So you were listening.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's quite a character. He's pretty much been thrown off of almost every chat room you can imagine, and most radio shows won't even have him on anymore just because of the way he behaves. And he's pretty much slandered and made a lot of accusations and assumptions which are based on his opinion, basically not on fact. But it's really interesting. On the Veritas show, he talked about he said Billy Meier was a bounty hunter. So it's, and he said it on several other shows too. So again, I kind of go, okay, which truth is real? There's so many different truths out there, and all the questions you asked him I thought were great, because he kind of hemmed and hawed and circled around them, but never really addressed them other than just making assumptions and statements again. But
a lot of sidetracking.
Yeah. Again, the bottom line is that there were a lot of prophecies made that didn't happen, and there's also a lot of information that just doesn't add up.
Okay, go. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, he said that he went to your ranch. Can you tell us about your experience?
No, he never did come to the ranch.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, he's never come to the ranch. He's never looked at the evidence. He's refused to look at the evidence. We've sent him tons of evidence, and he goes and keeps making statements that there is no evidence. And so, there is no evidence if you don't look at it. If you refuse to look at it, yes, there is no evidence. And you can keep saying that there's no evidence for him because he's refused to look at it. But, it's a standard cult member mentality where, if Billy were to take 3 oranges and an apple and put it on the table and tell you there were 4 oranges there, Michael Horn would say there are 4 oranges there. And he's lost all critical thinking. But anyway, the Ask It thing, I saw pictures of the pictures that he put out a long time ago of Ask It, and then they went back and changed everything, and it looked exactly like the Dean Martin singers, the backup singers. And I also saw how all that footage was duplicated, that he says nobody's been able to duplicate it. Well, they took the same equipment and they duplicated and did exactly the same thing film he had, plus they showed how the parts that he used to make the ships and everything else. So it's pretty condemning when you look at the evidence out there, and with him saying there is nobody could duplicate it. So again, we just keep getting, catching him in just one lie after another, and he's really having trouble keeping his story straight. But, I didn't come to bash him, basically. That's not my gig, although he loves to come and try to bash us every time he can.
No doubt.
Now, the one thing...
It's two different stories. No, it's just two different opinions. And to be honest with you, I've seen the facts at your ranch, and I haven't investigated enough to say that he is right either. But I know that him claiming Billy is the only contactee is farce, is a fallacy, and it's impossible. Yeah. It's not true.
Well, also, too, the only true prophet of God, give me a break. Prophecy is actually one of the genetic strands that when it opens up, and we are going through a transmutation because of the cosmic rays and everything else coming in, that people are opening up to prophecy, and it's a natural attribute. And the children coming in now, all these brilliant children see the future. These indigo, golden children, crystal children, whatever you want to call them. But I know some very powerful lamas and yogis and masters that I've studied with, and definitely they know what's coming down and they know what's happening. Also to dismiss Gandhi and Buddha and all these other masters and put them in the same category as Billy as bounty hunters, I think is kind of ridiculous. I don't know how you could tie that together, because I just can't see Gandhi out there, slinging a pistol, shooting people and collecting, a reward. Basically, it just doesn't work for me. I'm sorry. I'm really trying to look at this and be open to it. Now in the beginning, oh, by the way, too, the Pleiades are mentioned in Amos and Job in the Bible. They're mentioned in the Cherokee tradition. I'm part Cherokee myself, and I know our ancestors talk about the Pleiades as being the home world where our ancestors came from. And the Lakota talk about it. The Hawaiian kahunas talk about the Pleiades as their origins. In the Philippines, their shamans there also point to the Pleiades. So, you look at all the ancient artifacts left, these megalithic temples, I think it's Teotihuacan. If you look at that one and the pyramids of Giza, they're aligned perfectly with the constellation of Orion, which are the ancient ancestors of the Pleiadians or the Lyrians. They actually came and colonized that area. So basically, you look at all these references in the ancient temples. You look at Robert Bauval's work. I just had him on my radio show, and we talked about this. You look at any of the, Graham Hancock, any of this stuff, everything, when you talk to the indigenous people, they all point to the sky. The gods built these temples. They're our ancestors returning. And, this has been going on since the beginning of time. There never was a true prophet of God on the planet. There's always been many, many contactees, many people connecting in to these higher dimensional worlds and higher dimensional beings. And it's been ongoing since day one, and to, claim an exclusive on God and contact is just beyond any reason I can see, unless there is a profit motive. And there is a profit motive, and that is, to sell movies and books and also to get a percentage of people's income. And I know people that were given 25 to 50% of their income to FIGU to join because they so much believed in what Billy had to say. So in the beginning, I really wanted to believe in the Billy Meier story. I was hoping it was true. The photographs were amazing. A lot of the information seemed to be borrowed. The names like Ptah and Semnyasi are also borrowed names from ancient times. And I can tell you the story about, if you want to hear the real story about what happened, is that with them is that we took some photographs. Oh God, it was back in probably the 80s. We took video and photographs. It might have been the early 90s. It was a long time ago. And we filmed these ships doing all the same maneuvers that Billy Meier's ships were doing. And they looked identical, streaking around the sky, appearing, disappearing, just doing all kinds of phenomenal activity. And I mean, it was identical to what Billy Meier supposedly filmed or videotaped. So anyway, so I gave Michael a copy of the video, and I just said, hey, I would like to hear his take on this. Are these the same people that are buzzing around in our neighborhood that have been buzzing around in our neighborhood for the past 100 years plus? So goes back to Native American lore, and they're actually based underneath the mountain. But, it's more of an interstellar base there with some people that were already there, but that's a whole nother story. But anyway, this UFO contact program has been going on since day one, and for it to start up when Billy showed up is just beyond ridiculous. But we gave him the video, and supposedly he goes into his den and puts the video on, and nobody saw anybody else, nobody else there, nobody heard anything. It was just like, and he comes back down and he says, oh, I was talking with Ptah, some ancient Egyptian guy who is supposedly a Pleiadian, I guess, that he says. And Ptah said that there aren't any UFOs there. So his first comment was, there's nothing there, this is just phenomenon or whatever. And that's very well documented. So Michael Horn's first comments are, there's no evidence, there's no UFOs there, there's nothing there whatsoever. So then when we challenged him on it, saying, wait a second, we've got some very high-tech people operating in the Skunkworks programs that know what we have, what we've been back engineering, saying these are not ours. That doesn't add up. And then so after that he said, no, those are military craft, you're being duped by these military back-engineered people. Well, the problem with that is before Area 51 or any of these other areas, 52 on up and before and after, these UFOs have been showing up here. They've been here for a long, long time. So he should really do his homework because actually the Native Americans speak about how they took their wounded up to this one area and they would take them in the mountain and heal them. And they'd come out, days later with a broken leg completely mended and things like that. Just a lot of stories about that. But there's fire tower spotters, there's forest rangers, police, tribal police. There's been books written about the activity here. And actually Dr. J. Allen Hynek did research here. And Kenneth Arnold actually spotted the ships flying towards Mount Adams and lost them when they descended around the western slopes of Mount Adams, which would be going around to the south face, which is exactly what we look at and where we see the doors opening up. And we have film and footage of these doors opening up with these objects coming out of the mountain. So, his stories just don't add up. And for him saying we didn't offer him any proof whatsoever, and that he got all these emails.
Threatening emails.
Yeah, threatening emails.
Or you have vulgar.
Yeah, because it was the other way around. And anybody that knows Michael knows he has a long history of slandering everybody in the UFO community because he really wants Billy Meier to be the only true prophet of God and the only contactee. So anyway, that being said, there wasn't anything slanderous. I was in shock at what he was saying. I go, it threw me back at first. I go, what is the matter? And then Billy wrote an article and put it on his site, his FIGU site, and saying that there was some guy in Washington that was a counselor and a minister and all these other stuff and claiming to have contact. And then he went through and called us every name in the book. Very, very slanderous. And from that point on, I just said, what is wrong with this guy? All I did was send him a video and ask him who these beings were, why the attacks, why the insane, vehement manner that he's behaving here. I said, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Here's the only true prophet of God that is acting like a raving lunatic, And the story about the Pleiadians circling the planet, given his past history, and his history is pretty well documented. I just don't see why they would pick such a man, why they wouldn't pick somebody like Gandhi or Buddha or something else if they really wanted to get this information out. why wouldn't they pick somebody with impeccable integrity, that lived a life of integrity and service to humanity, So, it just, none of this adds up. So I started seeing all these holes in this case. And, I could even grant and say maybe he did have contact in the past and something happened. I could give him credit for that, and that's stretching it a bit. But the way they're behaving now and the way they're just vehemently attacking everybody else out there who's had a contact, and there are literally thousands and thousands of people that are having contact that is very well documented. They've got video, they've got multiple witnesses, they have all these other things happening, and to attack all other, UFO investigators and crop circle researchers, calling them villainous hoaxers and things like that, saying all the crop circles are fake. I can't follow that kind of behavior whatsoever, and I'm definitely not going to join and give a percentage of my income to any kind of group that behaves in that manner.
Okay. With that, I just want to let our listeners know freedomslips.com is the website. Revolution Radio is what you're listening to. Phenomenally Tease. We had Michael Horn on earlier, and now we have James Gilliland. If you'd like to join us in our chat room, it's freedomslips.com. Check us out. We are 100% listener supported. You won't hear commercials every 15 minutes pushing Enzite. Listener supported is just that. We base them on your donations and your contributions to this website, be it through buying a t-shirt, wallet. We do have those cool gear you can check out. Army knives, Swiss Army knives. Check them out. Survival gear. We've got survival documents, a website to keep you busy for days. We've got archives of our past shows, and if you do subscribe to our archives at a nominal fee, you will get of Echoes 4 albums, which is the owner's of this website, his albums. So that's a bonus in that archive section. And also, we do have, like I said, news updated quite frequently from Clyde in our chat room here. And questions are coming in quite frequently here at freedomslips.com. So if you'd like to join in the conversation but don't want to get on air, you could post it in the chat room. Fake alien invasions we're going to get to momentarily. But I just want to let our listeners know freedomslips.com is that website, listener supported. Please, if you can, donate. Click that yellow button right there in the chat room. Any little bit counts. Don't think that $5, $10 is too little. Every little bit counts. Like I said, it keeps us going for another month. Bandwidth, what have you, long distance. It adds up at the end of the day. And listener supported is just that. We don't want to work with big companies, buying spots on the show and what have you. We keep it strictly for you guys. We want to get the truth out there. So please do join us. And those call-in numbers, if you'd like to call in and speak with James, or if you had a comment, anything about what Michael Horn said, join us, 347-688-2902 in the United States, and always a free call on Skype. You can type in Freedom Screen in the search box and add us as a contact, a friend, and we will accept your request. You can call in and speak with James, or if you had any comments. And James, if you can, touch on fake alien invasions and then continue on with Michael Horn or whatever you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, let me finish this one here just because,
go ahead.
There's no usable evidence. Apparently he hasn't read any one of the 3 books, and he hasn't been in touch with, any of the thousands of people that have come here and had incredible healing sessions, and spontaneous healings where things just, disappeared. They shouldn't have, from tumors to broken bones mending overnight. And, I don't take blame or credit for any of that when it happens. It's between the people that come here in spirit. But, basically we gave the San Francisco earthquake way before it happened, probably 6 months in advance. Very clear. We gave the exact date, time, and magnitude of the quake, which we gave as 6.9, which were the first readings of the quake, and then they changed it later to 7.1, I believe. That was when I was in Santa Cruz, California, and I actually got run out of town because everybody got very angry at me, telling people that this quake was going to hit. And I told the people at Unity Church, there's a Yuktaswar channeling group. I told those people. I told some other people there And they got very upset about the prediction. And even after it hit right on schedule, they were basically saying I created it, So thanks for all the power, but it wasn't me. But we also gave the Seattle quake, the big 7+ one that hit here, and that's on Jim Birkeland's site, who is the earthquake predictor, and he goes by the moon cycles and lost pets and other things. But he sent me an email back and says, "Good one. How'd you do it? How'd you hit that one?" On Jeff Wren's show, I went on there and they asked me, "Well, when's the next quake going to happen? When's the next thing in your area?" And I told them, I said, "Well, Mount Hood is going to start rumbling. That's the next situation that we're going to have here. If you want something, that's going to happen in the very near future." Well, the next day they had 45 quakes that hit Mount Hood. And that's on the Jeff Wren show. People can go listen to that. The other thing too is we had, as we said, we've had on Coast to Coast, Lockheed engineers recently, 200 eyewitnesses when we did an intention experiment to bring them in, with Dolores Cannon, Mary Rodwell, Michael Pellinger was here, Lisa Renee's been here, William Henry. I can go on and on, of the lineups that we've had here speaking that have seen these ships, and they all know. Wendell Stevens was one of his staunch supporters who was here and saw the ship. So Randolph Winters has been here and he's seen the ships. So they all know.
I'm a believer.
Yeah, they all know the ships are here. So, he said that they have maybe 80 eyewitnesses. Well, we did the numbers and we probably have several thousand eyewitnesses a year.
Yep.
Coming through here. And if you add that times 25, that's a pretty big number. So although the numbers have been going up year by year, more and more people have been coming to see for themselves, that has come up. Dealing too with his assumption that, they're not here to put a show on, they're not going to come 500 light years away. I hate to burst this bubble, but they're showing up all over the planet, and they're doing so to show us that there's more to the universe than we can imagine. And so basically they're trying to indoctrinate us, get us ready for this huge reunion that's going to happen with not just the Pleiadians, with Billy Meier's group, but with, a whole host of star nations, which we have known about through all the prophecies for hundreds of years, that there is a time where the earth is going to go through some major tribulations, which we've talked about, I've written about in my books. All of this is there. It's all been unfolding right on schedule. Michael Hearns has access to all this information. But again, he says there is no information, and we haven't sent him any information. So again, what we have here is somebody who does not want to see, that refuses to see, and wants to continue with his program as, Billy Meier being the only true prophet of God, on the planet. And the latest Japan quake, we have monks that we talked to, that we warned them that this quake was coming and the tsunami was coming. And I will admit I was remiss. I didn't see the nuclear, disaster part of it. I missed that part because I was so blown away by the first two things that I saw. Yeah, I couldn't handle it, but,
okay, great. We do have a caller. Caller, if you could turn down your radio.
Yes, it's down.
Or your TV.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. I greatly appreciate that. Did you have a comment or question for James or myself?
Just a comment, for James. I actually live not too far from the ranch, and I can actually see Mount Hood off of I-5 when I'm coming home on the highway. And the fact that I got videotaped myself of UFOs that have flown over my area, and pictures of the next day, massive chemtrails over my home. Mm-hmm. And so I just wanted to make that known to the listeners and as well to James. I haven't even been to the ranch yet, but I know, have friends that have gone and have had the experiences. And also, James, you can also talk a little bit about seeing UFOs and military jets chasing them during the day, which Mr. Horn has expressed that is only seen at night. But this is also has happened during the day as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, thank you so much for calling. I've seen one of the main disinformation things that really expose people who are there for the disinformation game. They will not address the chemtrails, and they will say that they don't exist, and which has been, Michael has said on several occasions, and now he's trying to backtrack out of it. But basically, the chemtrails are a mess. And we've dealt with this since 92. We've talked about the chemtrails. I've gone on Channel 11 local here, and I brought in some very...
Sorry, James, can you speak up? Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I brought some specialists that are, concerning the chemtrails on. I brought a blood analysis person. I brought on, what's that website? Not Carnicom, William Thomas. We had William Thomas on the show. Had all these people since 92 saying, hey, there's some ugly stuff raining down on us. We've analyzed it. We need to take a look at this and stop this nonsense, and paid the price for it, a very dear price for doing that. And I've always been speaking up about the chemtrails. So, if these people really care about humanity, their own families and relatives and things like that, they should be speaking up about these chemtrails and not, doing the party line that they don't exist. That's ridiculous. Also, too, we have some incredible footage of jets chasing these UFOs, military jets. Now, if these were our own stuff, they would warn them away, saying, hey, back off. This is a military operation or something like that. Well, they're here. We have black helicopters here on a regular basis chasing these UFOs. I know people in some of those organizations, and they said that, I talked to an Air Force base commander, and he said that we're just trying to catch one because we don't know who they are. He said, we just want to catch one. And so I said, well, why don't you try meditating and rise to the occasion and align with the beings that are billions of years ahead of you in technology? That's military intelligence. Not trying to catch something and shoot something down that's, a million or billion years ahead of you in technology. That's insanity. But yeah, you're right though. There is a lot of military activity here, and they are chasing the ships on a regular basis. And we do have a lot of daytime photos and footage of ships. And one thing too I want to mention is that these ships we've had pink ships, green ships, blue ships, purple ships, massive triangle ships, miles long, pyramid ships, cylinder ships. We had every ship you can imagine flying over the ranch, and the military does not have this arsenal. I know this for a fact. We do not have that many ships. So for Michael to say that it's military is again just a futile attempt to draw all the attention back to his program, which is Billy being the only true prophet of God and the only contactee, and actually getting more signups and sell more movies or whatever else he's doing. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Great. Area code 360, is that all?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to add that there was a local news weatherman that at one time, this was last year sometime, had mentioned about the cloud cover over LA, I believe, I want to say, and he mentioned that it wasn't clouds, it was something that the military was doing, and they call it chemtrails. He actually said it in his news report.
Yeah, I seen that, and Michael said he doesn't believe in them. He doesn't think they're real. But we have to move on. We got other callers, and we're almost done here. So thanks a lot for the call, Area 360.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I just want to announce, James, if you don't mind, would you mind staying with us for maybe another 15?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, great. And do you mind doing this? Is the first time I've done it on my show, a little special announcement. Do you mind if I just take 2 minutes and do a little kind of a game with our listeners here at Phenomenal ETs?
Yeah, sure. There's just some real important information I'd love to get out. But
yeah, we are going to get that out right now. We're going to get that out. It's just give me 1 more minute, and it'll be fun. Trust me. Listeners, we just tweeted here, and we're going to give away a T-shirt here in our website here. of your own choosing. You can model it the way you want and put your picture where you want it, what have you, to our 5th caller in. So that means we have Francis being our first caller. We got 4 more calls. So the 5th caller in tonight, first time I've done it, you get a free T-shirt, and we'll pay for the shipping, pay for the T-shirt. You pick a size, it's yours. James, continue.
Okay, so anyway, that being said, the evidence here is overwhelming. We have boxes and boxes of video. We have, as I said before, on Coast to Coast, we have triple PhD Boeing engineers coming on testifying. We have Lockheed Skunk Works engineers. We have Air Force base commanders that have gone public and that have seen the ships here. And these ships are morphing from 1 to 3. They're bilocating. They're appearing, disappearing. They'll appear. The jet will vector in on them. They just disappear, and the jet goes by and they reappear. They're showing technologies that they have the ability to jump dimensions, basically. These are some very advanced beings here. And when you have the top of the top shaking their head, blown away by what they see, saying these are not ours, then I would have to weigh that up against Billy and Michael's assumptions, which began as there's no UFO activity here whatsoever, calling this every name in the book, to it's military, to back to there's no UFOs here at all, to what's the latest? Oh, I don't know what the latest one. Oh, that we're all delusional and these are all mind projections, So,
yeah.
I mean, I can go on and on with all of his assumptions and accusations, but
we do have another caller.
the slanderous remarks and it's like dealing with a cult member that's just totally brainwashed, that you cannot get anything past him. It's impossible, and you can't have a debate with a guy who can't use any logic or reason, and has one agenda. And that's to make Billy Meier the only true prophet of God, and the only contactee, and get all the attention and funds and whatever going in their direction.
Sure, great, James. And we do have Francis, and he will be hosting tomorrow's show at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Collision Course, and he'll have a panel of pro guests, in my opinion, one of them being Richard C. Hoagland. Francis, how's it going?
It's going good. Listen, I've never called into a phenomenal ET show. I have a question.
Great.
Sure.
Okay, and now I don't research a lot of it, and I don't have a lot of experience, so I'm just going to ask the one thing that affected me most when I was thinking about ETs. You have seen the 1996 tether incident from NASA, sir?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. Now, that is what gives me my opinion on space. When I saw that, I said, space is a fishbowl. And technically, what it is, So, now, when we're talking about cylinders and tetrahedrons and saucers, where do those objects that we see in the tether in the tether incident, how does that relate to the hard copy objects we're seeing here on Earth?
Well, a lot of the things you see in space, a lot of times when they're traveling in space, they're actually traveling as a non-physical ship. They actually raise their frequencies up and become more of an energy, or they go up one more step and become like a light ship.
So then this might be our view on another dimension, because if we're in a third dimension and we're trying to see into another dimension or into another frequency, which might result in a dimension, are those objects that appear to me to be living objects floating and directing themselves around in space, though that might be the representation of the place that they're actually in and making their movement?
Well, basically, the way I understand it, we have technology here. We have third-generation night vision goggles and infrared spotlights where we can actually light up the fourth dimension. And you can see all of these objects flying around, that you can't see with the naked eye. We can also see ships that a lot of other people can't see that are flying around that are just in the next dimension, in the infrared spectrum. And they're in the ultraviolet spectrum.
How many UFOs that we see do you feel, percentage-wise, if you could just throw out a percentage, how many of the ones that are viewed by people on Earth inside of our atmosphere, what is the percentage of, and again, I know you said military. I believe that the military has some of these crafts.
Oh, they do.
I believe the military flies around in crafts that we would call UFOs. What is the percentage? I mean, because again, when I think about that tether incident, I'm really, when I say space is a fishbowl, it's more like it's a living organism, and it's almost like they're out of any spatial hardware, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, the best way I can explain this is there's a vibrational continuum. And just as we have a physical body, we also have another body that resides within the physical body. And we have a body within a body all the way back to the source that goes up through the vibrational continuum. So some of these ships are physical ships with physical beings on them. Some are less dense physical with less dense physical beings on them. Some are energy ships with energy beings on them, and some are light ships.
So we're talking about races, multiple races on top of different organisms on top of different entities. This isn't one. We say, well, there's a UFO, but then you say, well, whose UFO is it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to think that the Pleiadians or maybe one of three are here is so beyond ridiculous, and trying to, create an exclusive in this situation is also beyond ridiculous. There's quite a few groups, very benevolent ones that are coming in now, and this will address that false flag program. The ships that are coming in now are not negative. They're very benevolent. The negative ones are already here. They've been here, and they just lost, you might say a great war in the heavens. The Greys and the Draconians and these guys just pretty much got their butt kicked out in the heavens, and now they're coming to Earth. These benevolent beings are coming to Earth, and they're dealing with the ones here on Earth and their puppets.
Do you believe the benevolent ones were coming to Earth a long time ago and having their way with Earth women?
Yeah, there's a long history of beings coming and going. A lot of the religion.
I guess what I'm leading to, because I'm not a religious guy, I don't want to talk about religion. I do bring up religion, but what I'm getting back to is some of my historical texts is, did somebody mistake one of these benevolent beings and call him our God? Is that your opinion?
Yes, and I've actually written a book about that, because there was more than one God in the past. There's the Old Testament God, who was a genocidal maniac. He was a very jealous, wrathful God.
And did they create the universe?
No, because he had a body. He had a form. Who created him? And so he didn't create the universe. He just passed himself off as a god, but he was a very technologically advanced ET that was very spiritually backwards. And there was a man named Jesus that there was a prophecy that there shall come a great one that'll bruise the head of the one that bruised the head of man. And that was Jesus and his group, and they brought in, the all-loving, all-forgiving God, and actually kicked this other entity out.
So it's easy for me to believe that way back, wherever we want to pinpoint the civilization that we're going to start off from, because I don't even think we're really sure how far back civilization goes. But if we were to start going back to the civilizations where they were writing our religious manuscripts, whether it be the Torah, the Quran, the Bible, or whatever, they all had the sense that there was a singular, when you say source, a lot of people think God, and, a lot of people think that their God produced everything that we have here in front of us. So, I don't necessarily believe very much in UFOs necessarily, though when I look at that tether instrument, I'm thinking it's more biological. But then again, if you say I think it's biological only because of what I'm able to see it as, well then I may be wrong, but I really see it more as a biological thing than this hardwire stuff. But
well, some of the ships are organic, and they're living ships. They are biological. The higher beings are actually on biological ships. So you're right in that accord that this is a biological experience, and it is hard to take a hardwired metal ship and start jumping dimensions with it, you know, a lot of these beings are actually coming in from these higher dimensions and dropping down to where we can see them, and they never really become totally physical. The ships that you see are more physical. Most of those are ours. Most of those are back engineered ships, and with a few, you know, that have been around for a long time that are a little less dense physical. Matter of fact, when you photograph them, they're very fuzzy. They're not quite physical when you take photographs of them.
Do you think the government would give a false flag attack?
You know,
since we're thinking that there's aliens out there, is the government going to drop a false attack on us?
You know, I don't think they will, mainly because there are so many people that have busted them on it. Werner von Braun, he exposed this whole program. He talked about all the threats, all the countries we're going to go to war with, and what was going to unfold. And he said one of the last cards is going to be an alien false flag attack to keep the people in fear and terrorized and in the need of government protection. So basically, you know, that's been very well exposed. I doubt if they're going to pull it off, and for the main reason that the benevolent ones are here now, it would be really hard for them to pull that one off, being the fact that the other ones are already here, the more benevolent ones are here.
Okay, great, James. We actually lost Francis in that. Maybe his connection was lost. He said, he crashed. Skype crashed for him. 360, caller number 3. You're on the air, and 217, caller number 4. We need one more caller for that free T-shirt. So 360, what's up?
Yeah, I'm here. I just heard about the contest and been listening to the show. And
hang up and call back. You might be the 5th caller.
Sounds good.
All right. Oh, 217 might beat you to the punch. Hang up. James, I greatly appreciate you joining us. We have you for a few more minutes, and the next person who calls in gets that free T-shirt.
That was me.
Oh, look at him go!
My Skype crashed. I had to call back. Hey,
yeah, that's, you can't.
Say, I'm going to donate it to number 6.
Okay, it's actually 217. 217, caller number 5! How's it going? Who am I speaking with?
This is Santos.
All right, great. So you into getting a free Revolution Radio T-shirt?
Sweet.
Yeah,
great.
You just have to tell us where you live, your social security number, and how much you make every week.
How about this? Do you know the owner of the station, Hawk's email address?
No, I don't.
Okay, great. Well, why don't you just stick around here, and we'll just finish up with James, and then I'll get that information to you. I'll give you my email address, and we'll work that out.
I need to apologize for. My Skype crashed, so that's why I must have just sounded like I disappeared, and literally I did just disappear. So, but I had fun. I had fun asking those questions because I really haven't talked to anyone about that tether incident, and that's really where me and unidentified flying objects start at the tether incident and they end at the tether incident because I haven't gotten any farther.
Yeah, if you go to ESETI, just type in Google ESETI power-ups or ESETI ships or whatever. It's all over Google. And we have these.
I've seen them, but I believe those are iridium flares. I mean, the satellites. I mean, that's what I've learned is iridium.
Well, Well, the problem is that we have the website for our JPL and Heavens Above, and we're monitoring the iridium flares, and they are not anywhere in the area. And we make sure if we do film anything like the space station or Evastat or the shuttle or any of the major Genesis, any of the major satellites or objects that are up there, we take them down. We verify it and make sure that these are unknown before we post them. So
if I ever see one, because I'm looking up into space a lot these days. So if I ever see one, and if I ever see a brown dwarf star, I'll let you all know.
All right. Yeah, I don't think you can miss them pretty soon. They're going to be everywhere.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, I'm actually, we've only got one life. If it's going to happen, come on, bring it on. I want to see it. What you waiting for?
You're going to see it in the next 3 months. I guarantee.
Sweet.
Great.
That's why I'm raising I'm getting smarter. I'm getting healthier. I know that all the things that I'm doing is for a reason. I just need to see it now.
Frankie Two Shoes. Listen, your show's on tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Collision Course.
Nope, you're wrong. You're wrong.
When is it on? Sorry.
8 p.m. 8 to 10 p.m.
Okay, Hawk was under the impression it was at 10. I'll have Cheryl on at 6, but we need to close up the show because we need to move into overnights. Francis, you can call back in 2 minutes.
Okay, well, it's 8 to 10 p.m. tomorrow night, Collision Course. You do not want to miss it.
Richard C. Hoagland and a bunch of others, eh?
A, and me too.
Well, I say A because I'm from Canada.
I know why you say A. I say B. Okay, fine.
Okay, thank you, Frankie. Hold on, James. Area code 360. You were the 6th then because 217 had just won it.
Oh,
so
okay.
thanks for calling in. We do have to close up the show, and you can feel
you.
free to call back in the overnights, which is starting momentarily.
Very good.
Okay, thank you. 217, Thantos. I just posted your name there in chat. Are you registered in chat?
I think so.
Okay, can you PM me? The Kid's Got Heart. And if you can PM me, we'll go from there because we will close up this show for the overnights. And you've got your free T-shirt. So start shopping in the swag section, different colors. And do remember that the size that it says there is fit to size. So if you're a large and you want it baggy, get an extra large. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
If you want it to fit, get a large. So do PM me, Thantos, but I do have to get the show going on. So thanks a lot. And you were the 5th caller, and I might do it again next week. And I will ask James if he would like to be a guest next week, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, and we'll see what he says. Maybe he'll email me back. Thanks, Thantos, for the call, and James, just hold on there.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay. Great, James. Yeah. So if you'd like to come back next week for an update, greatly appreciate it. I know that what Michael Horn had to say got on your nerves, and that's okay because
he doesn't really get on my nerves. I think it's an embarrassment to the UFO community, and it does need to be addressed just to bring the light of truth into it. It's one of the problems with this field is everybody is fighting, everybody's competing. Everybody thinks they have the whole piece of the pie, and he's a classic case of the person that thinks he has the whole pie, and he's the only place you can get a piece of pie, and it's very sad, when this happens. And that is something I like to address, is that, we need to all start working together and stop with this exclusiveness. There is no exclusivity in God or spirit form or whatever you want to call it, and there's no exclusivity in making contact. All you need is an open mind, a loving heart, and pure intent. Do your spiritual practices, and they'll find you. That's the bottom line.
Great. That's exactly a good point. And your newsletters do go out quite frequently, sometimes 10 a day, and you can probably subscribe to them at ECETI.org, ECETI.org. And that was James Gilliland. Thanks, James. I greatly appreciate you joining us. Have a wonderful sky watch. I hope it's not cloudy there for you.
All right. No, it's got almost a full moon, but we're still seeing a lot of activity here and getting some amazing footage.
Great. Good. I do look forward to it. And I've gotten your emails today, some pretty interesting ones. And I greatly appreciate your participation with us and all your help that you do in the UFO realm and the community. Anyone who wants to visit James's website, like I said, ecity.org. Thanks a lot, James.
All right. Take care.
Okay, great. And you've been listening to The Phenomenal ETs with Tim Dalger.